Stay and listen, or walk away. That's what she said, right in front of her friends, holding a wine glass like a microphone, like she was hosting some cheap reality show. Her tone? Light, playful. But her eyes? She meant it. So I stood up. No words. No dramatic speech. Just the sound of my chair scraping the tile and the jingle of my keys as I slid them from my pocket. I didn't even look at her. I couldn't. I just walked. She called my name once. Just once. Then she laughed it off, probably, told everyone I was overly sensitive or having a moment. That's what Tessa does. She wraps cruelty in charm and hands it out like party favors. What she didn't know was I wasn't going out for air. I wasn't going to the car to calm down. I was leaving. Like really leaving. I didn't go home. I didn't call anyone. I drove for hours. Slept in the car. Ate gas station jerky like a runaway. Because something snapped in me at that dinner table. Something I'd been duct taping together for years. Let me tell you what led up to that night. Because yeah, it wasn't just a dinner party meltdown. It was a slow, disgusting rot. One I pretended not to smell. It started with a text. Not from her. From a number I didn't know. You're a good guy. You don't deserve this. That's all it said. No name. No context. I showed it to her. She laughed. Said it was probably spam or a wrong number. But her hands were shaking when she handed the phone back. And suddenly I started noticing things. Her car smelled like cologne I don't wear. She started locking her phone like she worked for the CIA. I'd find receipts in her purse from places we'd never been. Hotel bars. Lounges. A spa 3 cities over. One night, I asked her, gently, "Hey, everything okay with us?" She smiled. Smiled. "Are you asking if I'm cheating?" I said nothing. "Don't be dramatic, Marlon." I wasn't. I just knew. I knew the same way you know when something's rotting behind the fridge. You can't see it yet, but you smell it. Every part of you does. And still I stayed. Because I loved her. God help me, I loved her. Until that dinner. Until she gave me a choice like it was theater. And now? Now I'm gone. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is what I found out the day after I left. I didn't expect anything dramatic to happen the next day. Honestly, I thought the silence would last weeks. That she'd pretend nothing happened, wait for me to cool off, then hit me with a fake apology wrapped in sarcasm. But that's not what happened. Instead, I got a knock on the motel door at 9:14 a.m. I hadn't told anyone where I was. Not even my brother. I was in a cheap little place off Highway 62, the kind where the air conditioner hums like it's dying and the curtains smell like burned toast. And yet, someone found me. When I opened the door, there was no one there. Just a plain yellow envelope on the ground. No name. No note. Just sealed, thick, and heavy with something inside that felt like paperwork. I stared at it for a full minute before I picked it up, like I knew whatever was inside was about to mess me up worse than I already was. Inside were 2 things. First, a USB drive. Second, photos. Printed. Glossy. Too sharp. Too real. The first one showed Tessa standing in the lobby of a boutique hotel. Hair curled. Wearing that red dress she swore she accidentally lost 2 months ago. Smiling. Holding hands with someone. Not Sloan. Someone older. A man I didn't recognize at first. But then it hit me. Bryce. Her boss. He'd been at our house twice. Once for Christmas dinner, where he brought us an expensive wine and spent most of the evening talking about his Tesla and his getaway cabin. Another time, he showed up with a gift for Tessa, earrings, and told me they were company incentives. I believed him. Because I was stupid. Because I wanted to believe him. There were 6 photos. All time-stamped. All from the same weekend she told me she was going to a real estate seminar with 2 female co-workers. The last photo? Them kissing in front of the hotel elevator. His hand on her waist. Her face tilted up with that same smile she used to give me. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the photos or smash the USB. I just sat there on the edge of the motel bed, shaking. It wasn't even the betrayal that got me. It was how careless she was. Like I didn't matter enough to even cover her tracks properly. Like I was some gullible fool she could just lie to until I died from emotional neglect. I didn't sleep that night. I just stared at the ceiling and played every conversation from the last 6 months on a loop in my head. The late-night calls. The cold hugs. The fake smiles. The moments I begged her to talk to me, and she said I was too needy. The USB? I didn't plug it in. Not yet. Because deep down I knew, Whatever was on that drive would burn the last piece of me that still hoped this was all a misunderstanding. And yet, I also knew I had to see it. Because something about that envelope felt deliberate. Like someone wanted me to know. Like someone close to her had finally had enough. But who? That question kept me up until sunrise. I waited until the motel was dead quiet. Just me, the whirring AIC, and the sick churn in my stomach. I held the USB between my fingers like it was radioactive. Maybe it was. Maybe it carried something worse than proof. Maybe it would show me that she didn't just cheat, she enjoyed it. That she planned it. I opened my laptop, hesitating before plugging it in like I still had a choice. But it was already too late for ignorance. The second the folder popped up, I knew this wasn't just surveillance or spy photos. It was labeled in all caps, "Your truth." Inside, a single video, 9 minutes long. I hit play. The screen showed a dim hotel room, the same boutique place from the photos. Tessa was sitting on the bed, wearing a robe that wasn't hers. Her hair was wet, her makeup half gone, and she was laughing. This full, unfiltered laugh I hadn't heard from her in almost a year. She wasn't alone. The camera was shaky, like someone had set a phone up on the dresser. And then he walked into frame. Bryce, wearing just a towel. No shame, no hesitation. He walked over to her, kissed her on the cheek, and started talking about how they needed to keep things quieter from now on. And then she said it, word for word. Marlon's not going to find out. He doesn't even see me anymore. He thinks a bubble bath once a month is romance. She laughed again. And that laugh, God, it didn't sound like her. It sounded like someone who wanted me to hear it. Like she wasn't just cheating on me. She was mocking me. I didn't watch the rest. I didn't need to. I'd already seen enough. I slammed the laptop shut and just sat there, frozen. Not crying. Not yelling. Just numb. Like the part of my brain that handled feelings had been shut off. And then it hit me. The angle of the video. The way the camera was framed. This wasn't a hidden camera. This wasn't some stranger spying on them. This was recorded by someone in the room. Someone she trusted enough to let film them while they talked about destroying me. Which meant someone in that triangle, Tessa, Bryce, or whoever else was in the loop, wanted me to see this. But why? Who records a video like that and sends it to the husband unless they want to light a match under the whole thing? I started thinking through names. People from her office. Friends who had drifted. Even family. Then I remembered something. Tessa's assistant. A guy named Curtis. Quiet, awkward, always a little too nervous around me. Tessa said he was just a kid, learning the ropes. But last Christmas, I caught him staring at her a little too long when she bent over to plug in the tree lights. And last week, she mentioned firing someone, but wouldn't say who. What if Curtis wasn't just a bystander? What if he recorded it? And what if this was all about revenge? Not for me, but for himself. I had a name now, a thread to pull, and I was finally ready to yank it hard enough to tear everything apart. I didn't go to sleep. I couldn't. After watching that video, my skin felt too tight, like I was wearing the wrong body. I needed answers, but more than that, I needed to understand how long I'd been the punchline in a joke everyone else was in on. I searched for Curtis online. It wasn't hard. People forget how easy it is to track someone when you know their office, their LinkedIn, their favorite lunch spot. He'd been tagging Tessa in real estate posts for months. There was even an old photo of them at a conference in Santa Fe, captioned, "Learning from the best." She was smiling, but he looked off. Not happy. More like someone stuck watching what he couldn't touch. It didn't take long to find his personal Instagram. Private, of course. But the profile picture? It was taken in the same hotel room from the video. Same lamps. Same weird wallpaper. Same damn robe hanging on the back of the chair. I messaged him. Just one line. "You sent it, didn't you?" He saw it in less than 3 minutes. And then, to my surprise, he responded. "I warned her not to humiliate you publicly. She didn't listen." That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just that. I asked to meet. He refused. Said he didn't want to be dragged into her circus. But then he sent one last message. "Check your house cameras. Especially the one she thinks doesn't work." And then, nothing. Account gone. Deleted. Vanished. It was like he burned the match and ran before the fire reached his fingers. My heart was pounding. I hadn't thought about the house cameras. We had 3 of them. One above the front door, one in the garage, and one on the back porch. The one Tessa always claimed wasn't working anyway. I'd honestly forgotten about it. She'd covered it once with a patio umbrella, and I never questioned it. I logged in remotely. The footage loaded slowly, like the universe was dragging its feet just to hurt me. I scrubbed back a few days. Then I saw it. Bryce. Again. But this time, he wasn't just dropping her off. He was in our backyard. At night. On our patio. Drinking wine. Her legs draped over his lap like it was his home. Like I was the stranger. And then, the worst part. Tessa walked inside. Came back out holding my hoodie. The one I wore when I proposed to her. She held it up to her nose, laughed, and said, "You were right. He does still smell like printer ink and guilt." Bryce? He said nothing. Just smirked and pulled her in. I couldn't breathe. My throat burned. That was my home. My space. My hoodie. My backyard. And now I had no idea how many people had been laughing behind my back. How many knew she was playing me like a fool. That's when something broke in me. Because I wasn't just betrayed. I was mocked. And the part of me that used to be scared of confrontation, that part was gone now. I didn't go back to beg. I didn't go back to talk. I went back to burn the bridge behind me. Quietly, legally, and with every ounce of evidence I gathered in the last 72 hours. You can only get kicked in the ribs so many times before your body decides it's done flinching. I parked 3 blocks away from the house. I didn't want her hearing the engine and having time to rehearse whatever lie she had ready this time. I walked through the side gate, the one she never remembers to lock, and stepped onto the same patio where she laughed about how I smelled. She wasn't out there now. Just an empty wine glass, lipstick smudged on the rim. The moment I stepped inside the house, I knew something was off. There were candles lit. Music playing. Not sad music. Something upbeat, like she was expecting company. Or worse, already had it. I moved through the living room, and that's when I saw them. Not Bryce. Sloan. The guy she said was just a project partner. He was sitting on the edge of the couch, holding a glass of wine, wearing my socks. My actual socks. I'd recognize the dumb pizza print anywhere. Tessa came out from the hallway behind him. She froze. I didn't. I walked straight past them, into the home office, and locked the door. I could hear her calling my name, like I'd forgotten I lived here too. Like I was the intruder. In the office was everything I needed. The hard drive with the camera backups. The paperwork I had stashed months ago when I first started feeling like something was wrong, and my separate bank folder. What Tessa didn't know, because she never asked, was that my paycheck didn't go into the joint account. Not all of it. I kept my freelance tech gigs quiet. Every dollar had been going to a separate bank account. For 2 years. Not because I expected this, but because I always expect systems to fail. It's what I do for a living. I downloaded everything onto a drive, grabbed my passport from the file drawer, and stepped back into the hallway. She was there, of course, blocking the way, arms crossed, eyes already watering like she was the one betrayed. "Marlon, what are you doing?" "You told me to walk away," I said calmly. "So I did. And now I'm taking the rest of me with me." "You're being dramatic," she hissed. "But Sloan?" He looked nervous. He stood up, muttered something about not wanting to be involved in a domestic situation, and tried to slip past me. "Keep the socks," I told him. I left through the front door without another word. Not because I didn't have things to say, but because none of them mattered anymore. What was I going to do? Scream? Cry? Get closure? She didn't deserve my rage. She deserved my absence. But what she didn't know, what she still doesn't know, is that I didn't just take evidence and money with me when I left. I took something that would make her entire fantasy life with Bryce, or Sloan, or whoever she moves on to, collapse in silence. And I was going to use it. It started with the emails. I didn't have to hack anything. I set up her business account for her 2 years ago. I knew the passwords. I knew the backup security answers, too, because of course she used our anniversary as the recovery code. I logged in that night from a borrowed laptop at a 24-hour diner. Coffee in one hand, my heart in the other. I opened her inbox, and the first thing I saw was a message she never deleted. Sent 3 weeks ago. "Looking forward to another conference, babe. Bring that red lipstick. B. Bryce." He'd been careful, used a personal Gmail account. But I recognized the writing. The arrogance. He didn't even bother encrypting it. There were dozens more. Photos. Flirtation. Plans. I couldn't tell which was worse, the words or how boring they were. They weren't in love. They were addicted to secrecy, to being awful together. But here's where it gets interesting. Tessa had her real estate license under a firm that explicitly bans inter-office relationships between managers and subordinates. And Bryce was her manager. You'd think two grown adults cheating on a husband wouldn't also be dumb enough to send digital receipts through their work emails. But here we are. So I packaged everything. The emails, the video, the photos. I didn't make a scene. I didn't even use my real name. I sent it anonymously to 3 places. Her firm's regional director, their HR department, and Bryce's wife. Yes, his wife. Her name was Lydia. I found her through an old holiday photo buried in Tessa's social feed, where she'd accidentally tagged Bryce's full name. The woman had a pottery business and a public Facebook page. 2 messages later, she had everything. And then, I disappeared. I shut down every joint account, canceled shared cards, froze the utilities. The house was under my name, bought before the marriage. I'd been paying the mortgage alone for 3 years because Tessa said she was investing in herself. I filed the eviction notice quietly. By the time she realized what was happening, I was already 4 states away, signed into a short-term lease with a fresh start account and no social media. She called. A lot. I never answered. The voicemails went from angry to weepy to terrifyingly calm. But the final one, that's the one that told me everything had landed. Marlon, they fired me. Bryce got suspended. His wife left with the kids. My accounts are frozen. I can't even pay my car insurance. I don't know what you did, but you ruined me. I listened to that one twice. Not because I was enjoying it, but because for the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. I didn't feel like the quiet fool with a polite smile and a dying heart. I felt seen, and I wasn't done yet, because she still had one thing left that I hadn't touched, her reputation, and I had one last piece of evidence that would break it completely. I never imagined I'd become that guy, the one sitting in a rented apartment miles from everything he built, watching chaos unfold through a screen. But here I was, and I had one last card left to play, the one I saved, not because I wanted revenge, but because I needed the truth to be undeniable, public, permanent. See, after I left the house, after I sent the evidence to her job and Bryce's wife, I still had the full camera footage backed up. Not just the kiss. Not just the wine-stained laughter on our patio. I had audio. Long, crystal clear recordings of conversations she never thought anyone would hear. Like the one where she bragged about how easy it was to manipulate people. The one where she said, Marlon still thinks I love him. Isn't that wild? And the one where Bryce asked if she'd ever officially divorce me. And she laughed and said, why? I like his health insurance. I had over 2 hours of these moments. Most people would have deleted them to protect their pride. I didn't. I kept them. Not for spite, but because something inside me needed the world to hear the version of her I lived with behind closed doors. So I did the unthinkable. I compiled a video. No faces, no nudity, nothing that could get flagged or taken down. Just audio, clips of the backyard, screenshots of emails, and one simple title. When you find out your wife was living a double life. I uploaded it to a private account, unlisted. No tags. No monetization. I didn't want clout. I wanted clarity. And then I sent the link to 3 people. Her mother, her best friend, Kaylee, the one who always took her side, and our former marriage counselor. I never asked them to reply. I didn't even check if they watched it. But 1 week later, Kaylee messaged me. Just one sentence. I am so sorry. I had no idea. That was enough for me. The world didn't need to see her implode in front of a crowd. Just the people who always believed she could do no wrong. Now they knew. And knowing that was peace. And Tessa? She tried to fight it at first. Sent angry emails claiming I doctored everything. Threatened to sue. Then begged me to take it down. Told me she made mistakes, but didn't deserve character assassination. I didn't respond. The file sat quietly online for exactly 7 days. Then I deleted it. Why? Because I'd already won. Not with views. Not with drama. But because she couldn't lie about it anymore. And more importantly, I didn't need to defend myself to anyone ever again. I was free. But even with the truth out there was still one final thing I had to do. Something I'd been avoiding. Something that would make everything real. And I wasn't sure I was ready for it. I drove back to the city exactly 52 days after I left. Not for her. Not even for the house. Just to see if it still hurt to be near the wreckage. It didn't. Not like before. It felt distant, like a past life I'd stepped out of without realizing it. The house was quiet. The curtains drawn. Overgrown lawn, mailbox stuffed with junk. She'd moved out, of course, had to. Once the firm fired her and Bryce ghosted her to focus on his family. She couldn't keep up appearances. Her name was never on the mortgage. I'd never added her to the deed. She always said paperwork bored her. So I handled the boring stuff. And in the end, that saved me. I didn't go inside. I just stood there for a minute, looked at the front steps where we used to drink coffee, and let it be over. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't bitter. I felt grateful, not to her, but to the version of myself that refused to settle for silent misery. The version that finally walked out of that restaurant when she gave me an ultimatum. I left the city that day and never looked back. 6 months later, I live in a quiet mountain town. I still fix broken networks, still make terrible coffee, still sleep with the fan on even in winter. But I also laugh more now. I started hiking. I signed up for a pottery class. I met a woman named Elise at a bookstore who thought I was interesting not because I had a tragic story, but because I listened when she spoke. And I didn't tell her about Tessa for a long time. When I finally did, she didn't pity me. She didn't say, "You deserved better." She said, "You waited too long to choose yourself, but at least you finally did." And she was right. Tessa taught me what it feels like to be invisible, but choosing myself taught me how to be real again. So if you're sitting there wondering whether to stay and be humiliated or walk away with nothing but your keys and your name, walk. Because peace doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like silence. And silence can be beautiful.